So you saw there an example from Houston about what happens when we take away these natural ecosystems that can absorb a large amount of water. So what happens here is that plants will add water vapor to the air via transpiration, and the leaves slow down the rain, which allows for more infiltration into the soil. If water hits the ground too hard, a lot of times it'll just run right off. But if it slows down, it gives it time to actually soak into the soil, which means there's less runoff to kind of flow across the ground. Roots also make the soil more porous, which helps water infiltrate into the soil. That also reduces the amount of runoff. And basically what we see is if we have less runoff, there's less soil erosion, and we get vegetation decay builds up soil, recycles nutrients, and all of this helps to retain water and helps to have water soak into the ground instead of flowing across. If the water's flowing across, that's how we get floods. And natural vegetation just helps with all of that to reduce the amount of flooding. So water purification and filtration is another big service, an indirect use that we get from ecosystems. Water scarcity affects over 1 billion people, and water filtrations are really expensive. Building a large plant that filters contaminants out of the water takes a lot of money and a lot of monitoring. And one of the most famous examples of valuing ecosystem services actually comes from New York City. They were faced a few years back with needing to build a water filtration plant. And this was quite a while ago, but it was estimated to cost about $9 billion. So it was going to cost $6 billion to build the water filtration plant and $250 million every year to maintain it. And basically the water quality that they were getting was starting to go down, and in order to maintain a high level of water quality and keep everyone safe, they needed this water filtration plant. However, they thought about what other options might be because this was so expensive. And basically they figured out that if they protected the watershed, and what was happening with their water quality is that as more development was happening in the watershed, and that's just all the land around a source of water, that was being developed, and that was degrading the quality of water that was available in New York City. So they looked around and they realized that if they protected the watershed, that would cost about $1.5 billion, which is substantially less than $9 billion for building and upkeep of a water filtration plant. So what they chose to do was to go with the cheaper option, and they protected the watershed. They bought up a lot of this land around the river that supplied their water, and they didn't have to build this water filtration plant that was so much more expensive. And so by thinking about and valuing ecosystem services, they were able to come up with a solution that was cheaper for the city, and it was better for lots of other ecosystem services as well. So those forests also could provide some limited timber. They're sequestering carbon that helps deal with climate change. They provide recreation for lots of people. But the main reason they did it was just to protect the watershed so that they didn't have to buy this water filtration plant. But it comes with all these other benefits as well.